My name is Polly, and I'm 27 years old. This is the story of how my life was entangled in a web of deceit and betrayal. But it's also the story where I rose from the manipulation and malice and got justice from both my husband and mother-in-law. I met Ralph, my husband, a charming and charismatic man, and was swept off my feet by his affectionate words and promises of a bright future. We fell madly in love and soon tied the knot, believing that our love would conquer all. However, little did I know that our love story would take a treacherous turn. The source of my torment was none other than Ralph's mother, Martha. From the beginning, she harbored a deep resentment towards me, viewing me as an intruder in her son's life. She was one of those mothers. Someone needs to do some deep psychosocial research into why these types of mothers act the way they do, because this is getting out of hand. Ralph had been providing Martha with his entire salary for the past 7 years. Yep, he was one of those sons, leaving our own financial stability hanging by a thread. It was a betrayal that cut deep, tearing at the very fabric of our marriage. I begged and begged him throughout the years to stop doing it, but he would always brush me off, indicating that his mother took precedence over the new family he was trying to build. Unfortunately, though, I didn't do much to stop it. You might be wondering why that is, and well, I was 20 years old at the time we got married. I was a kid, a bumbling, naive little girl who thought that one day my husband would simply realize his wrongdoings and change because his love for me simply ran that deep. I know, I was a fool to feel this way. But I didn't know any better, and unfortunately I was too afraid to speak up against both Ralph and Martha. The two of them apparently were a package deal, and their being arrogant and hot-headed was not a good combination. They were a mighty force of evil and destruction, and it took me 7 years to properly figure that out. As the years went by, the tensions between Martha and I escalated. She would belittle me at every opportunity, making it clear that I was not welcome in her house or her life, and that my being in her presence was a privilege that many could not afford. I would try and raise my concerns to my husband, but he shunned me each time, not caring that I was being verbally and emotionally abused by this woman. This made him complicit in the torment, and for that, I couldn't forgive him either. One fateful day when Ralph lost his job, the true extent of her animosity became painfully clear. She wasted no time in kicking me out, claiming that the house that Ralph and I were staying in was hers, and that I had to leave, crushing my spirit, and leaving me vulnerable and homeless. Really, Martha, you hate me that much? How can you kick me out of a house that isn't even yours? It's not that I hate you, darling. I simply don't care for you. Besides, after Ralphie lost his job, there's no way that he's going to be able to support you anymore. That's why I have to take over. This is my house. And in certain ways, it's been my house all along. What do you mean? It was only he and I living in the house. And now you want to disrupt the family dynamic and the household funds by moving in? And what do you mean it was always your house? How? How dare you? How can you speak to me in such a way? How dare you even question me, you stupid girl? You don't need to know the details of anything, considering you're no longer a resident here. Well, I suppose despising you is no bother now since you're getting kicked out. Just wait until I tell Ralph all about your evil plan. I got out of the house and proceeded to call my husband. Thinking that he would help me was a big mistake. Hello? What's going on? You seem upset. Upset doesn't even begin to describe it, Ralph. Your mother kicked me out of the house the same day you lost your job. What? Why? It's been going on for years, Ralph. You've been giving her your entire salary without even considering our financial stability. I've been suffering in silence, hoping that you would change while she's been manipulating you. Don't say that. She's done no such thing. Someone who's been manipulated doesn't know they've been deceived until they wake up from their deception. And you, my dear husband, are still under her spell. I swear to God, Polly, if you continue to speak about my mother that way, you'll what? You'll give her all of my money too? You need to stop being so delusional and see that the way your mother is treating me isn't right. How can you sit there and not do anything? I'm your wife, damn it. Enough. It's no wonder why she kicked you out of the house. Excuse me? You heard me. I won't stand for you disrespecting her and me this way. Now pack up all of your crap and get out of my mother's house right this instant. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Did I transport myself to another dimension where treating your wife like a cockroach was a sign of love and affection? Certainly not. But why was he talking to me like this? Without saying a word, I returned to the house to find a smirking Martha, laughing and showing off that her new house was all hers, and that I was finally leaving her and her son alone. I thought it best to keep my mouth shut, and trust me, it took all the strength in my body to do so, and just pack my things silently so that I could leave without going to jail for what I might have done. As much as I was angry, I was also obviously hurt and confused. What sort of mother-in-law would treat her daughter-in-law this way? I sought refuge with a friend, nursing my wounds and gathering the shattered pieces of my life. The despair fueled a fire within me, a determination to seek retribution for the injustice I had suffered. I couldn't let Martha's actions go unanswered. I also couldn't let my stupid husband Ralph off the hook either. They both had to pay. My friend kept on telling me how I couldn't let these actions go unpunished. She was only fueling the fire further, and so I decided to return to the house to give that lady a piece of my mind. For the second time that day, I stood in front of Martha's house, my heart pounding with a mixture of nervousness and determination. It was time to confront her and make her face the consequences of her actions. As I stepped inside, a wave of memories flooded over me. This house had been a place of pain, of manipulation, but very soon it would become a symbol of my victory. "What are you doing here, Polly? You have no right to be in my house." "Oh, I think you'll find that I do, Martha. After all, it was your actions that led me here." Martha's face contorted with surprise and disbelief. She had expected me to cower, to run away defeated, but little did she know I had found my strength. "You think you could just waltz in here and take what you want? You're nothing but a leech, Polly." "No, Martha, I'm no longer the timid woman you could manipulate. I've grown stronger, and I've had enough of your games. You used my husband's salary to build this house, and now it's time for me to take control." "You're delusional if you think you can outsmart me. I've been manipulating people my entire life." "Manipulation may be your specialty, Martha, but today the tables have turned. You underestimated me, just as you underestimated the power of a woman who has been pushed to her limit." As we engaged in a battle of words, the tension in the room grew palpable. This wasn't just a confrontation between two individuals. It was a clash of wills, a fight for justice. You may have won this battle, Polly, but the war isn't over. I'll make sure you regret this. We'll see about that, Martha. I've spent years living under your shadow, enduring your abuse. But today I'm reclaiming my life, my happiness, and my freedom. Your reign is over. Have the day you think you deserve. With those final words, I turned away from Martha, leaving her stunned and defeated. As I walked out of the house, a sense of triumph filled my heart. It was a small victory, but it was a step towards a future free from manipulation and pain. The road ahead would still be challenging, but I was no longer afraid. I had confronted my tormentor, and in doing so, I found my strength. I believe in the power of karma, and boy, oh boy, did I find something that I could use to my advantage. As I was leaving the property, I saw a couple of contractors hammering in a big red sign that said, "Auction," on my mother-in-law's front porch. Was she auctioning off the place? So soon? But why? This obviously piqued my curiosity, and considering what I knew about her shady business deals, her auctioning off the house might have been part of her ploy all along. What if she was trying to cover her tracks by selling the house? I returned to my friend and revealed the new information. She too thought that everything was just a bit too shady. But I was lucky to find her doing this because that was when I thought of the perfect revenge. I did some more research to confirm if Martha was indeed auctioning off the house, and it was true. She was holding an auction for it, and it was happening the very next day. This made my suspicions grow more and more. I knew that I had to sabotage it somehow and get to the bottom of whatever shady practice was going on. The next day, I stumbled upon an auction notice for Martha's house. It was a stroke of fate, an opportunity to turn the tables and regain control over my destiny. With a newfound sense of purpose, I meticulously planned my revenge. I studied the housing market, calculated the maximum bid I could afford, and prepared myself to confront Martha in the most unexpected way. Little did Martha know that I had risen from the ashes, transformed by the strength that adversity had bestowed upon me. I walked into the auction room, my heart pounding with a mixture of nervousness and determination. But of course, I was stopped by the people who had made my life a living hell for the past 7 years. "Oh, for the love of... What are you doing here? You're obsessed with us, aren't you? I told you not to be here. I'm still very upset with you." "Yeah? Well, the feeling is mutual, believe me. I'm here for the auction." They both gasped in unison. "Yep, I have every right to be here just like everyone else. So if you don't like it, then you can take it up with the police after I file a report for harassment." "Ha! You think that you can buy this house? You must be out of your mind, sweetie." "Should I kick her out, Ma?" "Don't bother. She's just embarrassing herself being here anyways. It's not like she can afford this place." "We'll see about that." We both stormed off to our designated locations, and Martha was glaring at me. I kept my composure, though, trying my best to fit in with the crowd. As the bidding began, I locked eyes with Martha, a glimmer of defiance and triumph shining in my gaze. The atmosphere in the auction hall was charged with anticipation. Bidders eagerly gathered, their eyes fixed on the stage where the prized house would soon be up for grabs. I stood there, my heart pounding with a mix of nerves and determination. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have an exquisite property on the market today. Up for auction is a beautiful mid-century modern house with a Ralph history. Let the bidding begin." As the bidding commenced, I played my cards strategically. Knowing Martha's shady financial past, I had discreetly leaked information about her alleged embezzlement, casting a shadow over the property's reputation. Potential buyers hesitated, unsure of the risk involved. It was my chance to strike. We have a bid of $200,000. Do we have any higher bids? Crickets. No one raised their paddle. What is happening? Why aren't people bidding higher? This is my house. Looks like your secrets have a way of catching up to you, Martha. No one wants to buy this house at a higher price because of the shadiness behind it all. Martha's face turned red with fury as the realization dawned on her. She was losing control. Just as she had tried to control our lives for years. I could see the panic in her eyes, a glimpse of vulnerability that had been hidden beneath her incessant manipulations. Polly, we need to talk. This isn't right. Save your apologies, Ralph. It's too late for that. You had 7 years to stand up for me, to prioritize our happiness. Now it's time for me to take charge of my own life. You conniving little... Save your insults, Martha. Your reign of control ends here. This house will be a symbol of my victory, a reminder that I will no longer be silenced or cast aside. I put up my paddle, and the auctioneer said, Do I hear 300? 300,000, folks. No one? Okay. $200,000 going once, twice, and it's sold. And just like that, a house that was well worth over $1 million at this point was stolen for $200,000, and it was all mine. I couldn't believe it. People began to make their way to the exit, unimpressed with the way that things turned out, considering the news of the alleged embezzlement reaching their ears only shortly before the bidding. Martha's face twisted with anger and disbelief. She lashed out, desperate to regain control over the situation. You think you've won, Polly. This house means nothing. You'll never be able to afford its upkeep and taxes. You'll regret this. Oh, Martha, don't worry about me. I have plans in place, and this house will be a stepping stone to a better future. As for regrets, well, they belong to those who've lost everything, just like you. With those final words, I turned my back on Martha, leaving her seething with rage. She was screaming and crying as Ralph was trying to console her, but honestly, they just looked like a whole mess. The victory was mine, and it tasted sweeter than I could have imagined. As I walked away from the confrontation, a sense of liberation washed over me. I had reclaimed my power, broken free from the chains of manipulation. Ralph tried to approach me, his face filled with remorse and desperation, but I held my ground, refusing to be swayed by his empty promises. It's over, Ralph. I won't be a pawn in this toxic game any longer. We're done. I'll send over the divorce papers once I settle down in my new home. But where will we live? Honestly, you need to be worrying more about that embezzlement accusation than anything else, because at this rate, the both of you will be living in jail. Polly, don't do this. Too late. Already did it. Have a nice life, Ralph, and tell your mother that rage is so not her color. At this, Martha appeared to shriek some more. She was completely furious, and I was enjoying every bit of it. She did her best to deal with the embezzlement claims, but at this rate, even if they were true or not, it didn't matter. Her image had already been dragged through the mud, considering her not-so-savory outburst during the auction. People saw an unhinged and aggressive woman, and they wanted to steer clear of that as best as possible. With my head held high, though, I walked away from the crumbling remnants of my past. The confrontation had marked a turning point in my life, a moment of clarity and strength. I knew there would be challenges ahead, but I was ready to face them with a newfound resilience. Revenge had brought me to this point, but it was self-empowerment and the pursuit of my happiness that would carry me forward. The aftermath of my revenge left an indelible mark on all our lives. As the highest bidder, I now owned Martha's house, the very same place she had kicked me out of. It was a bittersweet victory, a symbol of my triumph and resilience. I poured my energy into building a new life for myself, one where I was in control of my destiny. I established a small business selling crocheted clothes, pouring my creativity into every stitch. Word spread quickly and my business began to thrive. The community embraced my creations and my customer base grew steadily. Thank you all for supporting my business. Your love and encouragement mean the world to me. As my business expanded, I found myself in the market for more properties. The once shabby apartment Martha and Ralph were forced to rent was now a constant reminder of their downfall. No one in the community trusted them, and they had become outcasts among the people. Ralph would still call me from time to time, begging to come over, just so that he and Martha could have a hot shower, but I refused. I can't believe how everything fell apart, Polly. I never imagined it would come to this. Those are simply the consequences of your selfish and greedy actions. You should have stood up for me all those years ago. You should have told your mother that what she was doing wasn't right. Their lives had unraveled like a snowball effect. Their lives crashing down just grew with ferocity, intensity, and grandeur, and the consequences of their betrayal echoed through every aspect. They were on the brink of a trial that would further expose their aforementioned deceit, drawing more notoriety to their name. The weight of their actions bore heavily upon them, leaving them with a lingering sense of emptiness and increased frustration and malice. One day, she herself called me. I have lost everything, Polly. My son doesn't love me anymore. I've lost the community's trust. I'm left with nothing. You have to help me. The consequences of your choices have caught up with you, Martha. But this was never solely about revenge. It was about seeking justice and reclaiming my power. I hope that you get everything that you deserve, be it good or bad. The community rallied behind me, offering support and admiration for my resilience, which also brought in more customers to my business. Through my success, I found a newfound understanding of my own strength and determination. The sense of closure I had yearned for was finally within my grasp. As I gazed upon the properties I now owned, I realized that revenge had propelled me forward. But it was my perseverance and resilience that brought me true fulfillment. The past had shaped me, but it would no longer define me. With each passing day, I embraced the beauty of my journey, leaving the shadows of betrayal behind.